organisms over the growing season. And this backs that up. The more mineralization of that soil, the more nitrate left over after harvesting the data. Okay? So you got a little bit more complex here because your soil is giving, and you may not be capturing that nitrogen, and it's left over and it's going to be lost. Now let's look at David's in terms of yield. In blue for marketable yield, 90 to 275 kilograms of N. Not much of a yield difference, in my opinion, for that amount of nitrogen. Okay. I'm not sure, I don't think this is going to pay off. Okay. The 150, even that one's arguably what we got there, 61 kilograms. Is that going to pay off? Maybe it will. But look at the N2O emissions. That's in red. This is 151 nitrogen. This is 151 using 4Rs, let's say nitrification inhibitors, and so forth. A drop in N2O emissions. So just look at those two. A drop in emissions. Okay. So even like backs up data that I showed you from Manitoba. 4Rs can work here. Okay, particularly the inhibitors. But look what happens at 213. This is, I think, excessive nitrogen application rate. It's a major jump up in N2O emissions, and still increasing at 275. Okay, we're not only wasting dollars on fertilizer, we're also putting more N2O to the atmosphere. We're probably putting more nitrates to the groundwater. Yes.
And this was, I know this one was GSP, and the 4R is with inhibitors, and the 4R plus is with inhibitors plus they reduce the rate to equate to make the nitrogen price equal.
Yes. So as Ryan was saying, a combination. Use a nitrification inhibitor with a reduction in the rate, not a drastic reduction, just enough to pay for the premium cost of the fertilizer. And you can see the dramatic drop in N2O emissions.
If you go back one slide, there wasn't really a difference in returns.
So in other words, we're not hurting by using the 4Rs, right? Not hurting. We're not really cutting in that much. You can argue, yeah. I'm surprised by this one. It's going to be wobbled.
Within the margin of error.
Yeah. So this is where I'm going to end off on. You have 4 choices ahead of you to pay for good stewardship of nitrogen practices. Okay, 4 choices. What are those choices? Well, let's say we're going to use an inhibitor as an example. It's going to cost us more to use inhibitors. And I'm putting the price of fertilizer, nitrogen, of urea, in terms of to $1.58 a pound of N. That's a bit high right now, okay? In my neck of the woods, that was like this last spring, after the invasion. That comes out to $212 an acre for urea. But if I use Super U, for example, that's going to cost me $229. There's a premium cost of Super U, okay? I'm using the data from Manitoba that I got from my retailers for the premium cost. Well, and so these cost more money. So how do you get your return back? Well, I can say, well, I'm going to get more yield with the practice, with inhibitors, because I'm losing less and more for my plant. I can get more yield. Well, how much yield do you need? Well, for the Super U, it's only 1.2 hundredweight at $15 a hundredweight to pay back the Super U premium. Okay. It's not much. Many farmers will say, well, I'm going to get 1 bag. That's pretty easy to say, right? But keep in mind, 1.2 bags, well, there's a cost to producing 1.2 bags still, even if you're harvesting it, and you gotta load it and move it and stuff. Let's say it's 2 or 3 bags, okay, you need to break even with, okay? A lot of growers will go with this. But I'm saying if you don't have a yield increase, you're chipping away a little bit at your profits, okay? Well, what's another option? Another option is to reduce your nitrogen rates from 134 pounds to slightly less to cover the cost of the premium or the extra cost of the inhibitor fertilizer. And what's the rate reduction we're talking about here? Not a hell of a lot. It's about 10%. 127, 124, lowest is 120 because the polymer coated is more expensive. 120 pounds versus 134. You might live with that extra risk. Saying, oh, I'm losing less nitrogen with my PCU. I think this makes sense. I can reduce my rate to cover my cost of the product. You with me on that? That was the second option. The third option is you can go to market for the carbon that you saved in N2O reduction. He's laughing. It's not a really good market to go to yet. We're supposed to wait. We're supposed to have a regulatory market where, like, oil and gas producers, transportation, and so forth, have to put money into a kitty and then, or like into a market and buy carbon credits from low emitters.
Do we have access to that market?
You have access to a voluntary market. So that's companies that will, like Air Canada buying credits and this and that, or the consumer buying credits. And last fall there was the federal government's supposed to establish a regulatory market, but they're really slow on it. So right now, this isn't great. But if there was a good market for you, how much would the price of carbon have to be? It'd have to be $69 dollars per ton of CO2 on that market to pay off for your nitrification inhibitor, or 75 bucks for your Super U. And then you can go to them and say, I use Super U, I've reduced my N2O by this much predicted, and you can recover your costs. Right now on the voluntary market, which we do have, it's about 30 bucks, 20 to 30 bucks. So it's under, you're not going to come back, make your money back. So this isn't really an option right now. It will be in the future. Now the fourth is you can go to the Federation. I like that, go to the Federation. So they go into like Jean-Luc Picard or something. And you can tap into a maximum of $75 per year, I understand.
1,000.
What did I say?
75.
75,000 per year here for 3 BMPs. You probably know this better than I do. Obviously, cover crops, grazing, and nitrogen management. And you can, inhibitors, like for example, the double inhibitor does count. And somebody was saying the urease inhibitor does count. Okay? And that's a lot of acres. So that's a good deal. And I understand it's such a good deal that it's already been consumed and subscribed to. So you have options, folks. Like reducing emissions is not going to hurt your pocketbook. Actually, it can make you money in the short term. Because this is what I would do. Is I would forget about assuming I'm going to get an increase in yield. I would aim for the reduction, slight reduction in nitrogen rate, assuming that I'm doing less nitrogen loss with these better practices, and reduced by the cost of the practice alone. I break even, and then I get the Federation to pay for that practice, and I pocket that money. That's what I would do. And my guys can't do that. They don't have that scenario because the way the structure of the off-calf program in my province is not as convenient as yours. I'm going to leave it at that. So if we have time to have a discussion, that'd be great. If not, I'm here, you know, Ryan wants to follow up on work that he's been doing and share with you. So with that, thank you very much, and thanks for not going to Florida. Okay.